are you looking up tonight? Mulling under the moonlight. Never thought to let it go. Soul searching out of your window. Days, never sleep unless your head's by mine. Holding on to what we call divine. Do you think we're running out of time? Too late to stay, too dark for you to head home. Lay here with me, we'll watch another episode. Don't say goodnight. Stay by my side. Daylight rushes in over your emerald eyes. Guess that means that we're all out of time. Like a dream, you only go out at night. Am I crazy? Watch the sun as it's fading. Can't believe I'm waiting around on you. So complicated. I thought that you would leave it, yet here we are under the moon. Too late to stay, too dark for you to head home. Lay here with me, we'll watch another episode. Don't say goodnight. Stay by my side. Too late to stay, too dark for you to head home. Lay here with me, we'll watch another episode. Don't say goodnight. Stay by my side. Too late to stay, too dark for you to head home. Lay here with me, we'll watch another episode. Don't say goodnight. Stay by my side.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Post-Mortem with LNobbins. The Post-Mortem of Newcastle 2, Manchester City 1. A sobering defeat. Speaking of sober, I do have beer. I guess that's the opposite of sober, isn't it? But it's not too many. It's only like number 3 or 4, so it's not too many. But I will be having this. This is my last one, actually, so I'll be having this as we stream. We are, of course, going to dissect the game, what happened in the game that was stinky. Before I do that, this came in like right after the stream ended, so thank you so much, Graham, for the super chat. Cheers from the USA. Looking forward to catching more matches with you. Plenty of games left. Man City will win the title. Love the confidence from you, Graham, then. Thank you so much for the super chat. Big up to you. Sorry I missed that, but I think it came through after we ended the stream, so apologies for that. So today we are, of course, going to talk about the match as we always do on these post-mortems. We'll do the Finalysis player ratings as well, so you guys can help me with that. I am, to be fair, man, I've only had 3, so it's not too many at all. I'm just going to say that I am very bad, I think, at being calm when it comes to certain statements that are made. So, this isn't a democracy. So my moderators are on big alert today, because what tends to happen when City drop points is that I get mentalists in the chat and I get very frustrated. So they have the license to basically determine what's going to annoy me or not. So you've been warned, basically. So if anyone says, like, sell Haaland because he missed 2 goals and are being sincere about it, as an example, then you are going to get timed out, because I can't be dealing with it tonight. I'm trying to have a fun time. Mrs. Nobbins is having a party downstairs. I want to be in a good mood and a good vibe when I go down there. So that is the state of play. That's just a little... Yes, it is a threat. Yeah? Sorry, Ultimate, you're getting banned. Sorry about that, mate. What? That's outrageous. Right, yeah, so that's just, admin. That's not the same as you can't criticize players, by the way. People get confused about that. That's not the same at all. I'm just saying, let's try to have some perspective and let's try to, you know, have an actual conversation rather than just say, sell that player, sell that player, sell that player, and that sort of thing. I don't think that's very helpful language, to be honest. We can have a chat about players being shit or playing badly or whatever, but you get what I mean. Where to start, really, because I don't even know where to start. Let's start by saying congrats to Newcastle, who got the win, of course. I don't know if I believe, and this is going to sound really, it's not meant to come across as sore loser, because I don't think I am generally. I don't know if I think Newcastle deserved the win. I think a draw was probably the fairest result. Genuinely, I felt like either side could have won the game. Does that make sense? Actually, no. I'm gonna revise that statement. I don't think City deserved to lose. I'm not gonna say Newcastle didn't deserve to win, because I don't think that's fair. But I don't think City necessarily deserved to lose. And you can say that's semantics, but I do think that makes a difference there. So I'm going to revise that statement. I'm amending that immediately. I don't think we necessarily deserve to lose today. In the same way with the Aston Villa game, where I felt that a draw was probably a fairer result, and we weren't great that day, but I just didn't feel like we deserved to lose that game. It's the same with this Newcastle game today. I didn't feel like City were bad today. I didn't feel that we were... Like, what am I trying to say here? This wasn't the Brighton game, is what I'm trying to say. The Brighton game, we did deserve to lose that game. And we were bad in that game. And we created far too little in that game. And we were far too tepid in that match also. I don't think that this is the case for today's match. Let's go through why I think that, and let's just explore the game overall, and we will, as always, touch on the player ratings with Fanalysis. There's one more thing I do want to do, which I will be doing live on stream. I want to have another look at that second goal, because instinctively, I felt that maybe we could have dealt with the initial ball a bit better before it then came out for the second one. So I want to revisit that one. When the delivery comes in, instinctively, I felt that why is that not gotten away, or what's happened here with the positioning of some of these players? So I do want to revisit that. We will be looking at that later in the stream, so make sure I don't forget that. There's no point of talking about refereeing situations today. It is what it is. You can only control your controllables, and I'm going to say that as a blanket statement right now. I'm annoyed at the penalty situation, but I tell you what, I'm more annoyed at missing sitter after sitter after sitter. So that, I'm going to try to make that the only thing I say about referees this stream, because I don't know how helpful it is to talk about it. I'm frustrated at some of the decisions. I'm more frustrated at some of our finishing and our defending also. And that is something we can control. You can't control a potentially bad refereeing decision. That's not the same as saying you can't be upset about it. It's not what I'm saying at all. But what's the value in talking about it? There is none. Let's actually talk about what we can control and what can we amend and improve on going forward. And Natalia, that's absolutely correct. And I totally agree with you, Mad Hatter, as well. We can control the finishing. We can control defending our box better. We can control not conceding 6 big chances in the game. That is something within our power. And that is what we can address long term. That's what we can focus on. There's something else we can address. I think Daily Sport Ups just alluded to it then. We can control the substitutions. We can control where players play on the pitch. And I've got a lot to say about that. And that is something that's maybe the bit that I'm most frustrated about, is probably the substitutions. And I know it's what I shouldn't be most frustrated about, but I think it just is. Is that the case, True Citizen? Arsenal have only conceded 9 big chances in the Premier League this season. Is that true? Is that in the Premier League? Yeah, just in the Premier League. That's mad. That's mad. Okay. Let's break this down then, shall we? So, it was the exact same starting 11 as Liverpool and the exact same starting 11 as against Bournemouth. I will accept that I was a little bit merry on the stream. I will need to rewatch it to get the finer details of it. That will, of course, come in the post-match analysis. So this is going to be very surface level. And in fairness, these streams tend to be more of a general chit-chat, and the finer details get combed over in the post-match analysis. But the reality is this. That was the same midfield, the same team, as against Bournemouth and Liverpool. And on paper, it would seem that their midfield were going to, overpower us, dominate us, and absolutely you'd be correct in saying that. And I'll need to look at the data, but it seemed to me with my eyes that that was the case, that our midfield couldn't necessarily cope with Newcastle's. The problem with that, though, is that we were able to cope with them. Sorry, we were able to cope with a superior athletic midfield against Bournemouth and against Liverpool. So I don't personally accept that the midfield was wrong today. I don't accept that that was an incorrect starting 11 from Guardiola, because we were able to deal with Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, and we were able to deal with Bournemouth's, I can't recall who exactly they played in midfield that day, but we were able to deal with them as well. Now, you can argue that Newcastle are a level above, but I don't think that's the reason why we actually got overran necessarily today. I think it's probably more to do with the structure that we pressed with today. I didn't like that. We were too easy to bypass in the press, I would say. I don't think it was a physicality issue. Perhaps more so a positioning issue. And we know that we are pressing in a very different way this season. We've changed it quite a lot recently, but generally speaking, it's been a very different structure compared to past City seasons. Also, on an individual level, so we can talk about the structure. But also just simply on an individual level, I did not like a lot of the defending from our defenders today. There were too many times where they were almost stepping on one another's toes, and they were not able to pick up runs. I'm including the centre-backs and full-backs in there. And Newcastle made it very challenging for us. So that's the thing. That's the thing to say on that. That I wasn't particularly happy with the individuals. Some individuals anyway. I felt Nunes had a good game. I liked Diaz's performance. I guess it's more so the left side. I don't know if Nico O'Reilly had that much of a good game defensively, and Gvardiol, certainly there are a number of instances where that was the case. And that was upsetting, and that was a concern. And perhaps they didn't get the right protection from our midfield. That was, I would say, everyone's going to talk about Foden's finishing today, and we'll get onto the finishing. But I didn't like Foden's off-ball performance today, personally. In the first half. I liked it in the second half, didn't like it in the first half. Bernardo, I felt, was fine. Nico, I felt, struggled to an extent. So I didn't really like a lot of the performances of us defensively, structurally, or individually either. Didn't like the structure, didn't like the individual performance either. You notice I'm talking a lot about the defence. First of all, why is Nobbins not talking more so about the attack? And let's touch on the attack now, and I'll explain my thought process. I explained it at the end of the stream, but let's touch on it now. The finishing today was bad from both teams, by the way, both teams. In that first half, it would not be an exaggeration to say that it could have been 4-4 in the first half. That's the first thing to say. That's insane. That's mad. We'll get onto the defence. Let's talk about the attacking, though. Foden should have scored at least one. Arguably two. I'm not gonna. But I said I wasn't going to talk about. I said I wasn't going to talk about the incident, so I'm not going to. Haaland certainly should have had one, maybe even two. No, I'm going to get into the defense later. I suppose why I'm not as interested in talking about finishing and just, I guess, attacking generally, is first and foremost the creativity was there. It was fine. In fact, like I did a tweet and one person replied saying the creativity wasn't there today. And I just don't understand what game people sometimes watch, because no one watches that game today and concludes that City shouldn't have scored 3, 4, 5 goals across that game. Oh, I'll get into the creativity after the subs, don't you worry. But generally speaking, across the 90 minutes, the creativity is not the concern. Because Foden should have scored at least one. The incident happened. That was created by Doku. Haaland should have scored within like the first 3 minutes. Haaland should have scored another point in the second half. Bernardo had a decent chance in that second half with the... I'm not going to say it was a good chance, but it was a decent chance. Like I've seen Bernardo score easier chances than that before, so harder chances than that before. So I'm not saying it's a good chance, but it's a half chance. Haaland had a header as well, which he could have done better with. And of course, we ended up scoring the goal. So creativity was not a problem. Creativity was not a problem in this game. Yeah? Creativity was not the problem. It can't be when you say that when we miss sitters. If you have a sitter to miss, unless like an opposition player has presented it to you on a silver platter, that would suggest that you've created the sitter opportunity. So we can't be talking about creativity today. I'm not even going to spend any more time on that because clearly that's not the case. Finishing was a problem. It was a problem. I'll repeat. Foden, maybe Foden again. Haaland, maybe Haaland second half, maybe Bernardo second half also. I'm not concerned about the bad finishing today, and let me tell you why. City have scored more goals than anyone else in the Premier League this season. This is not a long-term problem based on the history of this season. If it were a problem, then we wouldn't have scored as many goals as we have done. What is the reality? We have scored more than everyone else. That tells me that across the entirety of the season so far, and that's all I can do, base it off precedent, scoring goals, finishing chances is not a problem for City. And that is why I'm not concerned with that long term. In a vacuum, in this game, yes, it was a concern. They should have done better in front of goal. But we are clearly very good at scoring goals this season. How many goals have we actually scored this season? Let's have a look. 24. So we've scored one more than Chelsea. We scored 4 more than league leaders Arsenal. After that, we scored 8 more than Palace, who are 1 behind us. We scored 5 more than Brighton, 10 more than Sunderland, 5 more than Bournemouth, 5 more than Spurs, and so on, and so on, and so on. So we are the best scorers in the division. Sometimes you'll have games like this, where you miss sitters and you miss chance after chance after chance. That's what I would say is an isolated incident based off what we've seen this season. So I'm not overly concerned that Haaland missed a sitter or 2, or that Foden missed a sitter or 2. I don't think that is the key storyline from the game. It's a concern, but it's not there are so many. I feel like there are so many parallels with this game compared to last season's games. That for me is not the number one concern, because what is the concern is that we can rattle off all these chances. Of course we can. We can talk about hypotheticals until the cows come home. Yeah. But if you were with a Newcastle fan or like a non-City fan, they could equally say, like, so a City fan and a whatever fan can just go, we should have scored that goal, and we should have scored that goal, and we should have scored that goal. But then the Newcastle fan, likewise, could quite easily and quite rightly and fairly just go, right, but what about the Barnes chance in the first 30 seconds of the game? What about the Barnes definition of an open net? What about Voltemada's hat-trick of inefficient finishing where he just heads it centrally or finishes it centrally? And what about the goals we actually scored? Unfortunately, Newcastle had far more chances than us, and unfortunately further still, better chances than us in that game. It's right for us to say that that game could have been dead and buried from a City POV in that first half because we could have scored 4. Likewise, it could have been dead and buried from a Newcastle POV. Now that would have been the end of it if they were actually efficient and clinical in their finishing. That is the biggest problem because this season, whilst we have been better defensively, we have been a lot better defensively, whether in structure or whether in personnel. That has still been a bit of a concern this season. That's still been a concern. Now, I don't think that it's actually, overall, an individual problem. I'm still concerned about our pressing generally. In nearly every single game, even when we've played well, like against Bournemouth or Liverpool. Liverpool less so, but let's say Bournemouth, because we played well against Bournemouth. It's still too easy for other teams to get through us when they have the ball. And we're in a settled defensive shape. It's still too easy. I don't think that I'm enjoying this 4-3-3. And that's a shame because I advocated for us to play 4-3-3 this season because I'm thinking, how can we get Shirky into the side? I think what I'm... And this isn't just a reaction to this game, by the way. It's something that I've been toying with throughout the season. I do think that, and sometimes we did, in fairness, press with like 2 up fronts, but not throughout the whole game. We do need to, I think, probably revert back to what made us great off ball, and that is just a really rigid standard 4-4-2. I'd like to see that. Because I think that does solve a lot of problems for us. The only question then is, what concerns does that introduce with the personnel you play? Because with Shirky, now you can't play him in a position that he wants to play off ball. You've got to play him either as a striker leading the press, or you've got to play him as a right midfielder, in which case he's good. I mean, you saw Foden against Arsenal. There's a lot of pressing and defensive burden if you're playing as like a right-sided player for City. There's a lot to do in a right as a right midfielder in a 4-4-2, and I don't know whether Shirky can do that. I don't know. Structurally, it seems to make more sense to me. I don't know if the personnel are there for it. I'm unsure. I don't know. That's a hypothetical. Though. Sorry, I know I'm yapping a lot. I will come to the chat in a second. Now, I'm not ignoring you, I promise. I just want to say things first. I want to say things first of all. Excuse me, I did a little burp there. Is that my general overall structure system? Is that my general overall gambit? Is that my opening gambit? I suppose it is. Yeah, I suppose it is. You're going to struggle to win games. Damn it, Matt. You're going to struggle to win games if you concede 6 big chances in a game. Like, your attack's got to be incredibly good to out... Or rather, the opposition's attack has to be horrendously bad in order to circumvent that point. And we have been a lot better at that this season. We've been a lot better at that this season. Of course, we've improved defensively. And don't get me wrong, I'm pushing back on the idea that City were bad today overall. I felt like a draw would have been a fair result. I don't think we were terrible today, like some people have suggested. But there are still little hangovers of concerns from last season, which we haven't fully been able to rid ourselves of. Going forwards, we're so much better. And defensively, we are a lot better as well. But it's still not there. It's still not there. And this is one of those games where you suspect that, and well, certainly I reached the conclusion of, is this a defense, from a defensive POV, is this City side good enough to win the title? And the league table would suggest no. The league table would suggest no. It's an attack that's good enough to win the title because we're the best goal scorers. The attack's not the problem. But we've conceded twice as many goals as first place. And yes, Arsenal are exceptional defensively. I'm not suggesting that we have to match them defensively. But this season, anyway, it is our defence that is letting us down overall in these games, I would suggest. This game's a great example of it. And I suspect that in future games, it will be likewise. It will be a likewise situation. Was Shirky right wing today? He was in as much as he has been for the past couple of games, I suppose, because it was technically Nunes as the widest player until Bob came on, and then Bob popped off to the right wing. Let me have a swig. This is a really hard game to dissect, therefore. Because I don't think we played bad. We could have scored a hell of a lot of goals. We could have conceded a hell of a lot of goals. Speaking of goals, I am just going to revisit that second goal. Because I don't want to say anything that's unfair. So I'm going to review the footage, and I'm going to provide an opinion. Is it it's Saturday today? I thought this feels like a Sunday for some reason. I don't know why. Okay. God damn it! As if like the recorded footage goes straight to like the 98th minute and they've won. Well, to be fair, that's when I turned the TV off. So I guess that makes sense. So I'm not going to make the statement until I've seen the goal, because that would be unfair to do so. As I'm reviewing the footage, VAR, Nobbins doing live VAR, what were your thoughts on the second goal? First of all, I want to see if anyone spotted what I think I spotted. But maybe I'm chatting out my fat arse. So what did you guys make of that second goal? Instinctively. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean like offside. I'm not talking about the offside situation. I'm not talking about a fault by the referee. I'm talking about, from a City perspective, what happened there. What happened there? Sorry, I should have clarified. I'm not looking at the offside. I'm not interested in talking about referees. Right. Okay. I'm reviewing the footage. It's the 69th minute. There's Diaz with his bloody nose. Little did he know that we'd be conceding again. Yes, okay. Yes, okay. What I thought happened did indeed happen. Let's just... Yeah, dearie me. Okay. I didn't even see how the corner got conceded. Let me have a look at that. Let me have a cheeky look. What happened? How do we concede the corner? No, I don't think there's a problem with giving away the corner. Like, Nunes had to do something to put his foot in the way. I'm not saying... Right, okay. I don't even know if I want to say this, because I'm going to get shouted at. I'm not. No, it's no. Maybe I'll talk about later. I don't want to do it right now. To be honest. Yeah. So, not ideal. Not ideal. What was I saying? Not ideal that we conceded that many big chances. At all. So where do we like go from here? And this is I think is the key. We can't, and you'll notice I'm being quite measured and calm this stream. And indeed, I feel like I'm relatively measured and calm normally until one swine winds me up. True citizen, little bastard, yeah. I don't think that this is the game to conclude that City are finished as a club, and that they are finished in terms of like this being like a really horrendous game and all of that. There are areas for improvement, of course there are. It wasn't good enough in a myriad of areas. That's the title of the stream, myriad of concerns. But I'm not willing to accept that the baby should be thrown out with the bathwater here. How many times were we able to really easily penetrate Newcastle's midfield? There was that moment in the second half, we haven't even spoken about this. Unbelievable defensive block by Thior. It goes from Foden, who plays it wonderfully, into Doku, who plays it wonderfully into Haaland, and Thior is just fantastic at the defending there. You've got to give credit there. That's a beautiful move. There were some good moves. And we created enough. And this, I think, that's what I want to talk about now. The substitutions. What? I thought Guardiola got the lineup right. You can't have a go at Guardiola for our players missing sitters. You can have a go at Guardiola for the defensive structure not being good enough. But that's a thing. However, what I can't get my head round are the decisions of Guardiola once we went behind, because that was a very, I'm doing this now because we're losing. So that was clearly informed by a reaction to the goal, the second goal. What happened? Doku came off, Cherki came off, Bernardo came off. For Savio, Reinders, Bob. It's not inherently wrong to bring on Savio, or to bring on Reinders, or to bring on Bob. That's not inherently like a mistake or an incorrect thing to do. But in what world? And Jace has just said it there. You know that you're going to be playing a low block for the last 20 minutes of the game. But 30, including added time, because it was 28, wasn't it? But 25, whatever. So why would you take off our two best low block players in Doku and Cherki and bring on Savio and Bob? That is a decision that I can't wrap my baby mind around at all. I've been trying to think, why would you do that? What would the function be of bringing on Savio for Doku? What's the purpose of bringing on Bob for Cherki? Why would you do that? Because you're immediately losing Doku's ability to break down low blocks individually. And you're losing Cherki's creative range and his ability to do that as well. So because Bob's not as good at Cherki at that. And Savio, who was bad when he came on, by the way. I'm not going to defend Savio at all. He was bad when he came on. The only caveat I would have is that he was being played in what I think is a non-optimal position. You know I don't like the idea that Savio is a left winger. He's a player who can play on the left, but you all know that I don't think that's his best usage. Certainly not against a low block side. All Savio is going to do is, if you play Savio at left wing, what you're basically saying to Livramento is, I'm a one-trick pony, and you know full well there is one thing that I'm going to do, and it's the same move every single time. I'm going to try to beat you on the outside and cross it in. That is all Savio is at left wing. And I really hope that we can move on as a society from the idea of Savio's best position as left wing, because it's just not the case. He's had 2 great games this season, I would say, and they were both at right wing. He's had some good games thrown in there as well. But his 2 properly great games were on the right. He's never going to be anything more than run and cross on the left. That is all he is. And here's the thing. Thank you so much for the super chat, MM. Do you think we need Elliot Anderson? I do like Anderson, matey. I do like him. We probably will have to go for one of those midfielders. Whether it's Anderson or Gibbs-White or Wharton, definitely. The one thing that I would say that if you could ask the Newcastle defence of, what in the last 20 minutes of the game, what sort of football do you want to come up against? Would you like to come up against impossible to predict Jeremy Doku, who can take down 2 players at once if he's feeling it, combined with Shirky, who is who has the potential to unlock low blocks at the drop of a hat, proper, serious, central, nice combination work as well with Foden thrown in there? Or would you like to come up against Crossing FC? Oh, I'm a big tall boy, I'm Fior. I'm a big tall boy, I'm Cher. I'm a big tall boy, I'm Pope. I wonder what I would rather come up against. That was never going to be a viable strategy. It was like when we play Arsenal and all we do is resort to cross, and Gabriel and Saliba are probably laughing, going, this is like a training exercise. We're always going to win this aerial battle every single time. It was the same thing here today. None of those crosses posed any threats. They would have had to have been the most perfect crosses to have posed any serious concern to Newcastle's back line today. It was never going to happen. Again, it had to be perfect, and Savio wasn't even able to get into the ideal position because Livramento, first of all, had a good game individually. Hopefully now everyone can see why I rate him so highly. That's his first game since injury, by the way, and I thought he did very well against Doku and Savio, and just generally against Nico O'Reilly also. Livramento knows that he's just going to go to the byline and cross, so it's easy mode for him. It's easy mode for the centre-backs. They know exactly what they're in store for. Whereas with Doku, different conversation. Shirky, different conversation. Didn't like that sub. Didn't like it. Bob, I've said. Reinders is the only one that I'll accept as okay. Take off Bernardo, more attacking player. He can score goals. That's the only sub that I liked. I didn't even like the Marmouche sub. Really didn't like that. For the same reason why I didn't like the Doku and Shirky subs. Marmouche is not a player that you bring on against a side in the final 20 minutes that you know are going to be backs to the walls defending for their lives. That is not a sub that you make. Certainly not when it's at the expense of a small space player who can potentially be useful in those moments. So out of all 4 subs, the only one I liked was the Reinders one for Bernardo, because at that point, okay, you need to be more attacking. Big up to LB for the raid, by the way. Big up to him. Bold fraud. Speaking of bold frauds. That was the only sub I liked. Didn't like Marmouche coming on. Didn't like Savio coming on at the left wing. Certainly at the expense of Doku. Didn't like Bob coming on at the expense of Shirky either. Seriously, what did we do after the subs? What happened? Let's have a look at the shots that were made. So Barnes scores in the 70th minute. Okay, and then Pep makes the subs. One would assume to, you know, get some impetus in the game. Bob had a nothing shot, blocked, point blank range. Savio had that volley, half volley effort that was never going in. Marmouche had that shot, which again got smothered immediately. Nothing, no chance at all. O'Reilly had that nothing header as well. And I can't even remember any times where we got into a great position, but we just didn't pull the trigger. So the subs didn't work. And that's not just results-based analysis, because we all said at the time, you're taking off Doku, who was our best player. You're taking off Shirky, who, okay, wasn't playing well, but we know that he can do something out of nothing at any moment. You're taking off Foden for Marmouche. And again, like Shirky, Foden didn't have his best game, but he's still a small space player. Marmouche ain't that. What are we doing here? I don't get what Pep was up to there, man. I don't get what Pep was up to. I think the only one I liked was Reinders, and maybe you could have brought on Ait-Nouri for O'Reilly. Perhaps. Perhaps that would have been a thing. Maybe just like go for it and bring on Marmouche for Foden and just go, okay lads, 4-4-2. Off ball and just commit. Maybe that's what you can do instead. But so those decisions frustrated me as well. Those decisions really angered me. And that was annoying. And that was, shut up, TK. And that was annoying. I've ranted a lot there. I haven't even come to the chat yet properly, so I've been ranting and yapping for 40 minutes. So let me come to the chat now, and we will do the Fanalysis player ratings, of course. I feel like that's what I wanted to say in the main. In sum, if you've just joined for the LB stream, the conclusions that I've reached today is this. The finishing wasn't good enough today. More worryingly, the defending was atrocious. Because we can see the 6 big chances. That's unacceptable. Didn't defend our box well enough. And what else? And I don't think we played badly. I thought the subs were bad. I don't actually think we played badly overall. A draw probably would have been fair. A draw probably would have been fair. But in the same way that we missed big chances, Newcastle missed bigger chances. That tells me the key issue was, one, defensively. And that is upsetting, because we've been so much better defensively this season than last. But that was a last season defensive performance, in my opinion. Really didn't like it. Really didn't like it. I'll yap more, of course, but get your thoughts in the chat. I will say it. What I was alluding to, because I said I don't want to say anything about the second goal, and I'm not saying that it's entirely his fault, by the way, for the second goal, but it's just I haven't really seen anyone touching it yet. Donnarumma is not good enough from their corner initially. That's all I was going to say. I'm not saying that's the reason why we conceded the goal, but I've not seen anyone say that yet. And unfortunately, his positioning is all wrong and he gets under it massively. He did bail us out a number of times, but he was not good enough there, and he should have claimed it or punched it away. And Gvardiol had to end up heading it and looping it off the line. That's all I wanted to say about the second goal. Once again, I'm not saying that that's the reason why the goal was conceded, of course, but it is a factor that I think does need to be addressed, because I've not seen anyone say it online, I've not seen anyone say it in the chat, and when I saw it live, I thought, what's going on here? I'm going to watch it one more time to make sure I'm not being unfair. And I'm not taking anything away from his good shot stopping. That's the wrong corner. I want to make sure I'm not being unfair. Yeah, like that's bad. Unfortunately, that is bad. That's a shame. That is a shame. It is what it is. It is what it is. Right, let's come to the chat. What we saying, guys? What we saying? Excuse me. Excuse me. I don't know why I was taken off, to be honest, matey. I don't know. Leiframento's a world-class right-back. I love him. I'll be rated depression settings. Yeah, I don't understand the subs. Don't understand the subs at all. This type of games might be where the City team might fall short to being tagged when it's not against the Big Six banana skin game, says Jay, so you're not wrong. We did get worse after the subs, I agree. Disappointed is Nintendo. All this for Newcastle to lose next weekend. I've seen this before. I don't think you're wrong. This is annoying me about Bob, I'm not going to lie. Because I'm going to repeat that I don't make... No, Diaz was on the pitch, Sachin. Diaz was on the pitch. You're thinking of the corner before that. Diaz is on the pitch for that one. I don't make decisions based on 90 minutes. I don't make decisions based on 90 minutes. So when I say stuff about a player, it's because it's a pattern that I'm seeing. I don't throw players under the bus because they have a bad game. I think that's a stupid thing to do. I think that's a very unintelligent thing to do. The problem with Bob that I'm seeing every single game is that it is absolutely the case that every single time he needs to be quicker in his actions. And that is a concern for me, that I'm seeing it nearly every single game. It's getting a bit annoying. These types of games, Newcastle away, Villa away, Palace away, Sunderland away, they are banana skim, says Jace. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if Chelsea were ahead of us at the end of the season, I'll be honest. Sounds like Gavard on the bench until he comes back to his best level. Says Diallo, he wasn't exceptional today, was he? I don't think he was bad by any means, but wasn't ideal. I've spoken about that, Diaz. I don't wish to talk about refereeing decisions. TBH. I've made my thoughts on it known, but I don't want to. Yeah, that was a shame, Jack. It's allowed a mistake. I don't know, because there was also... I'm not trying to detract from the saves that he made. There was also like an error within 30 seconds. It's not ideal. It's not ideal for your goalkeeper to be making egregious errors like this. I don't know, man. Disgusting. I think I'm going to push back on that. Don't think it was disgusting at all. Since I saw the subs and it was game over, the subs confused me. Newer football fan, only heard commentary. Did they play how you predicted in the prediction video? I mean, it was the same lineup, I guess, and it was the same on. But the first half, no. So in the first half, like, Foden played right of centre for some reason. And I guess that did mean that he got into more goal-scoring positions, and we've touched on that he should have done better with that chance. But I did feel like early in that second half, or at least like before their goal, that when we moved him to left of centre, I felt like we had more of a foothold in the game, searching from a build-up POV. But we didn't really set up in the first half how I thought we were going to do. Second half, it was more so. Maybe not the first half as much. I think Savio will. He's got to be played in the right area as well, man. I'll repeat, not trying to excuse the performance when he came on, because it's shocking. He's got to be better playing off the left, but he's not a left winger. At the end of the day, he's not a left winger. He is a right winger who can play at left wing. And the more I watch Savio, the more and more convinced I am of that conclusion. We were very wasteful today, I agree, as were Newcastle. More wasteful than us, one could argue. No. Haaland is allowed an off day. Yes. And I guess that's the question to ask as well, because let's be honest. Was this Haaland's worst game this season? I think the answer is probably yes to that. Was this Foden's worst game this season? The answer is certainly yes to that. It's a shame that they happened at the same time. Here is the reality, and I think Diaz has alluded to it here. It's very, very rare for footballers to be amazing every single game of a season. Even the best, even like player of the year players, have off games every now and then. So I would suggest that they are our two best players this season. I would also suggest that they have been, that today is arguably their worst games this season. So that brings up, okay. So who is it that's going to be able to have a great game today then in their stead? I felt Doku did that today. The substitutions certainly didn't do it. If Foden's not going to score, if Haaland's not going to score, these things happen. Okay, well then who is then? Who is going to be the player to perhaps be a bit braver in those moments and find our forwards in dangerous areas? And I suppose fill the void? I don't think enough of our players did that today. And I felt the structure was there for them, because it was a very similar, if not identical structure to Liverpool, to Bournemouth, but they weren't able to do it. So people can, you know, people can say stuff like this and say that, you know, Haaland is doing, I mean, this is waffle, obviously. People can say that Foden was shit, which I don't agree with, by the way. They can say Haaland is shit, which I don't agree with, by the way. But ultimately, these are two players who've been our best players this season. Should we not be asking the question of, okay, so these players didn't perform today, but who did? And if they didn't, why not? And have they been performing consistently enough across the season? That's probably where I'd be looking more so too. I'm probably not going to be looking at my top goal scorer in the league who's scoring at an alien rate. Yeah, you know what it is, Ultimate, actually. Yeah, that is. This is actually, yeah, that's a great point. Hang on. Oh, please, I need my lights to work for this to work, though. Where is it? I hope this works. You've entered the Hall of Fame, I'm afraid. Mark Ryan. You've entered the Hall of Shame. Tut, tut, tut. Tut, tut, tut. Naughty, naughty, naughty. Naughty, naughty. Yes? No, it's not banned. I think it's this one. I'll show you guys how to do it, and then hopefully you can do it. Hang on. I got this, guys. Don't worry. Bear with me. Let's see if that works. Oh, yeah. I think I added it. Oh, I need to change this. That's not the right setting. That might now be in the Hall of Shame. Unless I've done it wrong. I'll look at it later, if not. What else are we saying? What else are we saying, guys? What's going on? What else are we saying? Ah, I know what I did. God damn it. Oh, I've closed the wrong thing! God, it's all kicking off here, innit? Deary me. It's all kicking off. I've clicked the wrong button. Sorry, guys. I'm a professional streamer, yes? I'm a professional streamer and I know what I'm doing. No cap, no cap. What else are we saying about the game, guys? Just you talk amongst yourselves. What else are we saying about this game? If there's no significant improvement from Bob, do you think a low next season could be on the cards? The problem is, I wonder if he's like too old, sorry, for that. Would it not just be... Would it just be a situation instead of moving him on at that point if he weren't able to improve? Because sadly, he's not a young player necessarily. He's not a young player. Do you see what I mean? So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm so nearly there, guys. I'm so nearly not an idiot. Right. Let's see if that works. There we go. That is how you add Hall of Shame quotes, guys. That is how you do it. Bop. I'm a genius. That is the command. HOS add. There you go. You've made the Hall of Shame. Big up. Yeah, get the likes up, guys. Just because we lost, that does not mean... Just because we lost, that does not mean that you don't get to not like the video. Yeah? Leave a like on the video. It's free. Not sure Nikachi got enough help, says Metalli. I think you might be right. The Savio stuff can't continue, he isn't good enough, says LB. I can't make that judgment properly until I see him in his actual position first of all. That's the problem. He wasn't good enough today. I absolutely agree. But can Pep stop with the fetish of playing him at left wing, please? Can we please do that? I hope as a society, we can all move on with the idea that he is a left winger, because he isn't. Good God, man. Oh. God, I'm so hot in this room, man. I picked the wrong attire today. I picked the wrong top. That was a wrong top. That's the wrong top to pick. I don't care where he's played more, LB. He says he's a right winger. His best games for City have been at right wing. I don't even know if that's true either. He played more there for Girona, but that was one season. He is a right winger at the end of the day. That's where his skill sets and traits are. We know that he's not a left winger. Look what he does at left wing. He runs and crosses. That's all you're going to get out of Savio at left wing. You get so much more at right wing. We saw that against Villarreal. We saw that against Dortmund. There's more to his game out on the right. So I need to see that on a more consistent basis before I'm willing to sack him off. I mean, I did see it last season. So, you get me? Do you get me? Do I think Foden running so much is affecting his final third actions? No. To be honest. Because he scored 2 ridiculously tricky goals against Dortmund only before the international break. So I don't think so. I just think that he was poor in front of goal today, that's all. I don't think there's I don't think that there's anything more to it than he just wasn't good in front of goal, that's all. He should have done better with that finish. And he should have won a penalty. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to talk about that. I said I wasn't going to talk about that. It's very hard. It's very hard to not do that. It's very hard to not do that. But, you know. You know. I'm drinking through the despair, yeah. Dave James, creativity was not the problem today, sir. We had 6 big chances, mate. Creativity ain't the problem. It ain't the problem at all. Should we try Marmoush off the right? We have tried it, and he's been shit every single time for City. This is why that I'm not big on the idea. I'm willing to see it on a more consistent basis, but he's never played particularly well when he's played off the right for City. It's always been poor. I agree, Metallic, and I'm going to repeat that. I actually don't think that Foden had a bad game, and I don't think Haaland had a bad game. I actually felt that Foden's overall play was good, you know. Finishing, however, was inexcusable and inexplicably bad. He had to score that goal. He just had to. Alas, he didn't. I actually thought overall it was actually alright. TBH. It can win the league. It definitely can. It definitely can. I still believe that. But again, that is a hypothetical and it's a can. We aren't the favourites. And I still repeat, what is it a season too early for City? We've got Leverkusen and Leeds next, Timmy. Today's show we needed a dual winning 8 with a crazy engine, especially when Rodri's isn't fit, so it can't be Nico G, says Matthias. There's no doubt about it that in an ideal world, I think City's midfield, let's say it's between Rodri and Nico at DM, let's say that everyone's, or just a Rodri's not fully fit. Absolutely, in an ideal world, City's midfield would be Rodri / Nico, Foden, and Bruno Guimaraes. Baleba. Paquetá, Onana, that ilk of player. That would probably be the best midfield. Perhaps Anderson, yes, absolutely. That is the vibe of player that City should be going for. I like Reinders a lot. Big fan of his. He ain't that sort of player. It does make the Ryder signing in hindsight a little bit confusing given that this is how we are playing. That is interesting to me. It's why I suggested to have more of a physical player like Onana or Bruno G or whoever that might be. Even Palacios. I know Palacios is always injured, but from a physical standpoint, that does make the most sense. And there's no doubt in my mind that we will go for that, definitely. It does make the Reinders signing confusing because he isn't that. But for me, you've got to have Foden in the midfield. And whilst he has been good off ball this season, we know that he's not got the build of Fernandinho or, again, the players I've just named, Baleba or Onana or Bruno or Paquetá or Bellingham or Rice. We know that he doesn't have the build for that. That's not his fault. There's nothing he can do about that. So he needs to be, ideally, he would be partnered by someone like that. But we didn't sign that player, which is very interesting. Very interesting. And I don't think that's... And Swag says, yeah, we went for techie players, not physical. There's actually not necessarily a problem with that. Liverpool, we dealt with Soboslai and Gravenberch pretty well. Bournemouth, we dealt with their midfield pretty well. So it's not inherently an issue. When Barcelona came to Newcastle, what was their midfield that day? Frankie de Jong and Pedri. They dealt with it pretty well. They were nowhere near physical enough compared to Tonali, Bruno G, Joelinton, or wherever the midfield was that day. I don't know if it was the exact same midfield. But they were able to do it. So there is still clearly a way to bypass it. And I still believe that. But yeah, you are right that naturally it would have been preferable to sign a midfield who has both. And we didn't go for that in the end. Which is a darn shame. I think we'll beat Leverkusen. I think we'll be fine. This guy, man, this guy. We should not sign more players with a good squad depth, says Timmy. We'll have to if and when we lose Kova and Bernardo in the summer. I think by virtue of numbers, we'll have to. We'll have to. Excuse me. It's not even the pressing situation. I don't think that we were bad on the ball today. It's more so the off-ball, Alex, for me. That's been my key concern this season. I do agree, Jean-Pierre. I do agree. And to be fair, I will say, I don't know if it's because I threatened the entire chat at the start of the stream. I am going to say, though, that this has been, considering we've just lost a game, I will say I'm very impressed with this chat tonight. I did just want to say that, so big up. That sounds incredibly condescending. I apologise for that. But I was expecting, like, I don't know, insane takes left, right, and centre. And it's actually been very measured for the most part. We did have a Hall of Shame entry, but generally speaking, this has been a very measured conversation. And I think that's what we're trying to foster on this channel. So thank you guys for making this stream one where I don't want to end my existence. So thank you for that. Because my words, last season, there were some games. There were some games where I was like, what is going on? Sorry about that, Jack. Maybe it was a threat I did earlier at the start, you know what I mean? Yeah, Tonali, I did feel Tonali had a good game as well. He thinks Cova is leaving. Shut up, mate. Shut up, TK. Emo Game Winners says, Sachin. I think that Shirky is one of those players as well, by the way, but it's his first season in a new league with new teammates. It is hard for him to just be that overnight. But I do believe that Shirky will be that guy as well. I do believe that. Yes. Yes. Perhaps it's too early now. Yeah, I don't think it was a crisis either, Dom. It's not going to be a smooth sailing. It's not going to be a smooth sailing season for City. Goodness me, there's a lot of sibilance there. There'll be ups and downs, indeed. Indeed. I guess, yeah, that is the key. Not for 1 second am I saying that people can't get upset about a result, but there are so many fans, and I guess it's mainly on Twitter, so they're not real people, whatever, but who will act like the sky is falling every single time City drop points. And sometimes it will be justified to react negatively to a result. But we know, we have to be realistic here. You can't win every single game. You can't win every single game. You can't not lose every single game. There will be some games you drop points in. That has to happen. You know what I mean, LB? No, you can't, Jack. Shirky, I liked what I saw. First real test in his Premier League career, says Akagami. I'm not sure. I did feel that overall Shirky struggled in the game, I would say. Overall, again, I'm going to repeat, I don't think he was bad. But I do feel that he did struggle. Shirky needs more minutes. I don't disagree. City players were so far deep and offset to the low block. Not sure I agree across the whole game. Yeah, that was unfortunate, Sachin, to be honest. That was a bit unfortunate. We can be more consistent. I do agree with that, LB, definitely. I'm a bit schizophrenic this season because I still believe there is a side that can win the title this season. I'm like, the part of me that believes that is around 30%. The majority of me is thinking that it is too soon for us, and perhaps this is a season where we just need to embed Shirky, embed Reinders. This is the first season where Foden's played in midfield off-ball and on-ball as well. That's another massive change. A new goalkeeper, a totally new build-up structure, new fullbacks as well, a totally new defensive midfielder. There's a lot of change, and I do wonder if it's all too much too quickly. And the more reasonable conclusion is that it is too much too quickly, and that City won't be able to win the title. At the same time, I'm not willing to say that we can't win the title this season, because I do believe that in respect of personnel, there is a team that can win the title. We just might not be able to find it this season, that's all. Yeah, it is a bit concerning at times. The decision-making has got to improve. I've not seen TK, to be honest. It might not be ready. It might not be ready. Winch and That's an amazing name. Bernardo was doing almost as much as Shirky, which didn't help. Looked like we were just not motivated. It was sloppy. I don't think it was motivation, but it was sloppy. It was sloppy. Weren't bad, but weren't good. IMO were okay. Yeah, I'm not saying that we were good. I think we were fine. It was like the Aston Villa game. I felt that we were fine in that game. I felt that we were fine in the Aston Villa game. I felt we were good in the Spurs game. The game I keep going back to where I did feel we were bad and deserved to lose was the Brighton one. That's the one where I can't find any positivity in that one at all. Can't find any positivity in that one. Maybe Akagami. And hey, I mean, I found peace. I'm pretty chill. I'm a pretty chill guy. We've just lost, and I'm, you know, it's not ideal, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty chill. I'm pretty chill. I can still see progress for City. I can still see it. It's not like Lego, which is like my biggest hobby. Oh, guys, speaking of, I bought some Lego today. I treated myself because it's probably not going to arrive until like later in the year, and it's like it's a little present to myself for getting to 1/3 of the way to my target, and we're nearly there. So that was a little present for me. I won't lie. That was a little bit, you know, self-indulgence, but I don't care. I did it. Yeah, I did it. It's not already lost. It can't already be lost. It's only November. I refuse to accept that it's already lost. I'm not having it. I wouldn't troll Tom Little. I don't like trolling generally. Should I tell you why I don't like trolling? Because, like, so for example, like whenever I was at, like, you know, school or college or indeed uni, the reason why I would never troll people, I guess in the naive hope that they wouldn't then troll me when City lost. Because, you know, it's like, you know, it's like a door, isn't it? It's give and take. It didn't work. You know, they still troll us. But I like to have the moral victory of, hey, I didn't take the mickey when United lost, yeah? So what's going on? So I don't tend to do it. It was just one of those games, says Lee. Arsenal lose or draw tomorrow, we have a chance. Unfortunately, they're up against Spurs at the Emirates. That's the problem. The issue is, Alpha, and the form... See, the form was a false dawn. The form was a massive false dawn. Because they were without two of their most important players over the past however many weeks / months, Livramento and Hall, who just so happened to start today and just so happens to be very good today. The Newcastle before the international break was not the Newcastle we're going to play today. That's why I was very confused when there were lots of City fans on like LB's stream saying, yeah, we're going to win this game, no problem at all. I didn't buy that for 1 second. Finishing today was hard. That usually reverts to mean. Definitely agree. Some of our top players look tired, says the stuff. Perhaps. The first sentence I 100% agree with. And that's why I'm not concerned about the finishing long term. Might be concerned about the defending. We have, definitely, LB. I know that people don't like to view football like that, and I'm not being defeatist. I'm not giving up. I'm not saying that City can't win the title this season. It's going to be very hard. We can't give up, though. But in worst case scenario is we can't win the title. Let's for a second assume that worst case scenario, we can't win the title. How shit were we last season? Even the most negative person this year can surely see the vast improvement from last season. That is a positive. That is a positive. it would be very rare for a team to perform as badly as we did last season in a certain phase of the year and then immediately go on to be flawless, winning the title. That would be very rare. So I do agree. I think this is a very sensible thing to say. I'm not saying that's acceptable. I'm not saying it's good enough that City's target should just be better. But if you can't win the title, at least be better than what you were. At least try to be better than last time. I'd be amazed if we finished worse than last season, lower than third or lower. I'd be staggered if that happened. I know Chelsea are currently above us, and Arsenal are of course above us. I'd be amazed if we didn't finish at least second this year. Amazed, because we just have been so much better. Even in our defeats, apart from Brighton, even in our defeats last year. Oh my God, there was no silver lining. We were just all shit. And the problem was that we couldn't even see a solution within the squad. I was advocating for Núñez to play in midfield, and we know that he can't play in midfield for City. That's how bad it was getting. LNobbins was advocating for a Núñez midfield run. And I still feel that would have been the correct thing to do. But that shouldn't be a solution. We know that he's not good enough to play in midfield. That's how bad last season got. That's how bad last season was. Now, the target is 33.3 recurring. Chill. That's what I'm saying. That's the first milestone. I've forward thought it a bit, but you get me. People come up with absurd takes, get hounded for it, and then say I'm trolling when they believe it, says Kazoo. Yeah, I hate that. I do hate that. I don't know if I got so much knowledge, but thank you, Olive. I appreciate it. Arsenal's defence is too good. And that goes back to... why are we not winning the time? Why are we not in the lead this season? If we just have a look at the Premier League table again, and I'm sorry for repeating myself and covering that ground. Why are Arsenal top of the table? And why are we not top of the table instead? It ain't to do with scoring goals, because we've scored more goals than them. How many games have we not... I mean, to be fair, there were 2 games where we didn't score a goal, I believe. Villa and Spurs. The Spurs game was insane, though. To be fair, even against Villa, we had a 1v1. Because Arsenal have conceded half as many goals as us. Half as many goals. That is why they are winning the title so far. That's why. And you know that it's bad defensively if LNobbins is saying that the reason why a team's about to win the title is because of the defense. Because you know that I believe that attack wins games and attack wins titles. And you know that I believe that scoring goals is more important than not conceding them. I seriously, strongly believe that. So for me to be saying that the reason why we are not winning the title has nothing to do with the amount of goals we're scoring, you know the defense is bad. You know that the defense is ultimately a problem across this season. We only conceded 2 today, and we got off lightly. We got off lightly today. And that's a concern. And it's not like someone said it earlier, the finishing average is out to the mean. Absolutely right. Not concerned about the finishing, but the defending this season has been consistently poor. That's a lie. It's been half good, half poor, I would say. Half good, half bad. I think that's more to do with structure than personnel. Yeah, I'm sorry if I said the defending has been bad. I actually take that back. It's not been good enough to win the title so far. Let me rephrase myself. I'm reeling myself in here. Sorry if I don't know if I said that. I'm saying a lot of words. If I said our defending has been bad this season, I'm taking it back. I'm reeling it in. But it's not been good enough to win the title based on this season anyway. Based on the season anyway. That's the issue. That's the issue. If you're going to concede 6 big chances, it's going to be very hard to get anything from said game. I agree, Sachin. I agree. It's never over. It's not over until the fat lady sings. I agree, Kazoo. That's cap, LB. That's cap. Look, before a ball was kicked this season, I had people saying that City are going to finish third, fourth, fifth. And I don't really get where that logic was, because are you saying that we're going to be worse than last year, where last season we were dog shit and we still finished third? Are you sure? You sure about that? Crazy. To be fair, Nunes on the wing sort of cooked. A little bit, low-key. Oh, Laporte. God, I love that man. Oh, God, I love Laporte. What's the take on fixing it? I think one of the solutions is to try to go back to a 4-4-2. As I outlined earlier, the problem with that is that that does not go well with Shirky's off-ball work. I guess what I'd probably like to see is like us almost go like cope with it and just like get good. You know what I mean? Like just get good at pressing from the front, get good at pressing from right midfield. Because I think we'd be a hell of a lot better structurally. And then you can maybe play an off-ball side, which has got... which is, I don't know how it would work on ball, but when people are talking about getting Marmoush into the side, you could then very easily play all of Marmoush, Shirky, Doku. Very easily do that. And still play Foden also. Because you could just play, your midfield four could be Doku, Foden, Rodri / Nico, Shirky. And then you can have the front two of Hall and Marmoush. That would make us, that immediately, because we tend to go to more of a 4-1-4-1. So that means that you're doubling the amount of players pressing always, because City tend to go a bit passive in the midfield when it gets to the midfield area. And we know that the 4-4-2 is a far more compact shape than a 4-3-3. And just indeed, basically any shape with a back four. So that would immediately shore up City a lot more. A hell of a lot more, I would say. Yeah. Pressing from the front would be a lot better. Your central duo of Nico and Foden, or Rodri and Foden, that's excellent off ball. The structure is there because it's tighter. So it means that the midfield are inherently protected by the forwards also. There's less space for the opponents to exploit us. And that could be a thing. That could be a thing. I'm not saying that's what we should do at all. If you want to play it safer, you could have Rodri Reinders in the centre. Even, actually, no, that's not safer, is it? Because Foden's been better off ball. I guess if Reinders improves off ball, you could make it better. Or let's say Bernardo, for argument's sake. You could have Bernardo Nico / Bernardo Rodri, and then have a forward pressing two of Hall and Foden, even though I don't think that would be ideal. If that's your concern, you could do that. I'm not saying that's a solution. I'm not suggesting that we abandon the 4-3-3, because I think that there would be a massive learning curve for Shirky, and I'd be concerned with that. But do you need to necessarily start him all the time? I don't know. I'd like to start him all the time. I'm a bit biased because I want to try to... I'm a bit biased because every single team I make, I try to make it so Shirky can start, because I'm a big fan of Shirky. So I do accept that. I do accept that. That maybe I'm not thinking of the best structure for City there. But still. Who isn't jealous of Laporte? I'm jealous of Laporte, hello? I know, I miss Laporte, I love him. I think the City team can't go on this four. I probably agree, Jace. I probably agree. I do agree. Went to an Adele concert last night, love that. We need 4 phones when it comes to pressing. Phone's one of the best pressers in the world, says the stuff. Some interesting pressing data came out. I think it's interesting. One sec. Let me whip it out for you. Let me whip it. Where is it? So Phil Foden's in the top 4% this season for counter pressure regains per 90. Top 4%. And he's in the top 19% for just counter pressures generally. So yeah, that is a thing. Yeah, prepare for nerd. Yeah. What the hell, Kazoo? What the hell, mate? Respect me. City look good for the Champions League, though. I don't know. The problem with the Champions League and trying to predict, whether a team can do well in the Champions League is that we know that the Champions League tends to be more so about moments. How good are you in both boxes? I know that's a cliche, but I do think it's right. How good are you in the... How good are you at defending your box? And then how good are you at scoring? I know that... What am I trying to say here? I believe that this team is absolutely good enough to be that in the opponent's box. Today is a very weird outlier. History tells us that we can be that team in respect of safeguarding our own net. But history also tells us that more often than not, that doesn't happen. So I don't know if I'd say that City look good for the Champions League. What I would say is that if you don't think City are favourites for the Premier League, then by definition, that means that we have a better chance of winning the Champions League. Because if you're the favourite for a league format, then you're more likely to win it than if you are the favourite for the Champions League format. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope it does. Weekend ruined, says Zin. Don't let a game of football ruin your weekend. Don't let a bunch of millionaires losing a game ruin your weekend. Don't worry about it. There's so much more to life. There's so much more to life. Go have some lovely food. Go spend some time with your loved ones or whatever, you know what I mean? Go build some Lego. Go build some Lego. Prepare for nerd is crazy. Past City team could claw back points back by going on winning runs, says Jace. Exactly the stuff, big up. Go touch grass, yeah, exactly. Nobbins actually told me he sent hate mail to Alvarez once. What is going on? I thought this game was the start of a winning run. It's a shame because, yeah, this was a massive test. I think we've had a couple massive tests in a row. Bournemouth, I felt, was massive. Liverpool, I felt, was massive. This was another one. I'm not going to say that we failed this test. I'm not going to say we failed it in respect to performance, but it's a concern. It's upsetting about the results, obviously. I think it's to do with, how often you post in the chat, Metalli. I'm pretty sure those crowns. Dom thinks we're better equipped for the Champions League, perhaps. I did not Sachin, but it is what it is. Like, it was off. If he's offside, he's offside. So if he's onside, he's onside. There's nothing that we can do about that. If he's onside, it's onside. It's a thing. I don't know, Kev. I feel like we've been quite consistent in all honesty. Apart from the start of the season, I've actually been happy with a lot of City games. Ever since last season's run, I care a lot less when City lose. I guess there's less pressure, maybe, because we aren't. There is less pressure for us to win. No one had us as the favourites this season. I get lots of people had us like finishing below third. So I don't know. He failed it in front of goal, Dom, but I'm not going to agree he failed it overall. I felt he had a good game overall. I've just realised we've been streaming for 90 minutes. I haven't done the bloody player ratings. Do we want to do the player ratings, or is it too late? Let me know. Let me know if you want to do them together. Let me know. I'm laissez-faire. I'm laissez-faire. I'm pretty chill. Do them. Not worth it. That's fair. I'll just do them off stream then. Give him FM on. Are you okay? You okay, mate? What's going on? One for all except Don. I don't want to keep bringing up the mistakes Donnarumma made in this video because it's gonna, in this game, sorry, because it's gonna make people, it's gonna drive the idea that I'm a Donnarumma hater, and I'm not, but I don't really agree. I don't know if I want to go into it any further because people are going to accuse me of being a hater, but there were a lot of errors today. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe that's me being unfair, but it's more than one bozo moment, as we call it. Yes, I'm not sure I'm on the train. I'm not sure I'm on the train of he saved us today. I'm not sure I'm on that train. This Nemesis is international breaker that you're not wrong. Damn, Jack, that's wild. There was one save that I was very impressed with. Voltamada made it incredibly easy for him by hitting it centrally every single time. And then he made a mistake where we should have conceded in the first 30 minutes. And I don't think enough people are talking about the error he made for the second goal either. So I don't think I'm on this train, TBH, of saying that he was like our saviour, and I don't think I agree. I'm certainly not going to be tweeting that because I can't be dealing with grief. So I'm just gonna, this is a safe space for me, yeah? So I'll say it here, but I'm not on that train personally. I'm not going to say he had a bad game, but 2 errors, which could be defined as, quote, bozo errors, I don't think does not a good game make, is what I'm trying to say. Do you get what I mean? Oh, the main thing was he changed play for the whistle and don't whine. That does frustrate. That does piss me off, man. That really upsets me. Definitely not tweeting it. Guys, any final questions, any final thoughts? God, it's so late. I didn't realize how late it was. I'm so tired. Oh my god. I wonder if it's the light or the heat in this room, but I'm shattered, man. Or maybe it's just the draining. Oh no, I'll tell you why I'm drained today. Because Evie has been ill today. And she's been... Oh, it was quite scary, actually. She's fine. But I was really concerned today because she threw up this morning. And I've never seen her, like, react today like she did. Like, her eyes were leaking. She was shaking. She wasn't eating any food. And she was, like, just, like, curled up into the corner. I was very concerned. So I've been very stressed today. She's okay, I can confirm. She's had some food now and she's back to her normal self. I was very upset and concerned today. So it's been an emotionally draining day. What I didn't need was a game like this. What I didn't need was a game like this. But, you know, hey, it happened. It's a thing. And she's fine now. Don't worry, she's fine now. I know everyone was worried. But Evie's fine. That's my cat, by the way, in case you're concerned. It wasn't like my... That's not what Mrs. Nobbins is called. Can you imagine? Or maybe it is what she's called. And maybe I've just baited you, yeah? She saw the future, yeah? She was like, oh. Prediction for Arsenal versus Spurs, 2-0. Arsenal. They'll score 1 from a set piece and they'll score 1 from a Spurs error, I'll say. I reckon that the first goal will be a Spurs error, the second one will be a set piece. That's what I'm going to say. Ignoring minutes versus Leverkusen. I'm not going to be doing a like tactical preview for that game because you know that the only one I did it for was Napoli, and that was because they were the defending champions and because of KDB. So there ain't going to be a preview. There will be a watch-along, obviously. That is a game to rotate. Definitely. Definitely. That is a game to start Ait Nori. That is a game to start Marmouche. That is a game to start one of Savio or Bob at right wing as well. It's definitely a game. It's probably a game to start Kusanov at centre back as well. Maybe right back if you play Savio. Actually, yeah, maybe at right back and he could play Stone centre back perhaps. We are at home for Leverkusen. Yes, true citizen. That is a game for that. 100%. People were saying, can we rotate against Leeds? I don't think we can fuck around in the Premier League. We've got to go full strength for every single Premier League game we can. We've got a bit of leeway in the Champions League, and we're at home, and we should be beating Leverkusen. That's a game you rotate, so I totally agree, TK. I'm going to say more than minutes. Start them. Just start them. Mate, this was hilarious. We have been shit at long throws since Kyle Walker left. Basically, at least Walker could sometimes do them. Who do we think we are? Who do we think we are doing that? That's insane. I mean, Dom, I think you've got to start one of them at right wing, haven't you? You've got to give them time. You've got to give them some minutes. I'd like it to be Savio. That's the last two Champions League games. Savio's played really well. He's played great. He's been excellent, I would say, against Dortmund and Villarreal. It's another Champions League game. Give him another go. Give him another go. Why the hell not? Not ready to go on Twitter after that Bob performance. I'm not ready to give up on Oscar Bob. I'm not ready to give up on Savio. With Savio in my head, I can at least justify it somewhat by saying he was played out of position. And maybe I can say it for Bob, because I do think he's more of a central player. But let's be real. He's not going to play in the centre at City when we've got these players. So that's a thing, but it is the same issues that are cropping up every single time. They are very young. They are very young, and I'm hopeful. And it's Bob's first full season. What musicians do I like? I like a lot of early noughties pop punk. That's why I like Go for Gold a lot. Big up to them. Let's put some Go for Gold on, guys. I'll only put it on quietly. Never mind, I can't because Mrs. Nobbins is using the Spotify. Ignore me. I can't do that. Can't do that. I don't know, Kobe. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think they will, Swag. I'm more convinced that Savio will than Bob. But I'm not going to write Bob out, though. But instinctively, I think Savio is going to be the better player and the one more likely to concede. He is a lot younger as well. And he's also a natural right winger. I don't think Bob is that, even though he's playing there a lot. That's fair, Sachin. Savio was bad today. I'm not going to lie. Not going to lie. Still believe in him, though. I still believe in him. And I don't think that he should be a starting player for us. I think that's sure key. So that's the thing as well. I'm fine for Savio to sort of be like the second option at right wing, if you will, because I think that should be Shirky as the first option. Do we have anything else to say? Because I've been yapping, man. What is wrong with me? I yap a lot, don't I? Anything else to say? Because I have yapped a lot. And I feel like I need to end the stream because I'm getting very tired. Savio should start over Shirky until his off-ball performances improve, says Sachin. Nunes had too much to do. Maybe that's fair. Maybe that's fair. I remember that KDB assist over the defence of Newcastle. Bob scored the winner. Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Very different game, that. We had very few chances in that match compared to this one. We were very clinical that day with Bob and KDB, of course. Who scored the first one? I think Bernardo scored the first one from a Walker cross. And then Walker shat the beds defensively for both of their goals. Good God, man. Good God. Bernardo Silva. Silva. Man from Bournemouth. Wait, who's that? Yeah, that was a lovely flick, wasn't it? It could have AI joy, but it also could have been over if Newcastle converted theirs. And that's all I can really think about. I will review the game. I will watch it again. This guy, TK, man. I will watch it. Maybe City did something differently off ball that I didn't notice on the first viewing. I mean, we definitely did first half. Foden played right of centre. That was definitely something different. But that's going to be the thing. 100% Musty. 100%. I've said I'm not going to talk about it, but you asked me a direct question. It's not even close. Like, it's so blatant. It's embarrassing how blatant it is. I think there's a direct correlation between how good your kit is and how good your team is. Oh my god. I don't know, TK. I don't know. Oh, Musty. Mixed. I think that, again, I need to reiterate that I'm not a hater, and I like all City players and I want all our players to do well, but I'm not seeing what other people are seeing with his performance today. I think there were some good saves. I think every single save, it's one I would expect a competent Premier League goalkeeper to make. I think that he made an error within the first 30 seconds that should have been a goal. I think that he made an error for the second goal as well. That's my assessment of his performance. So mixed, I guess, a mixed bag. I think one save was excellent, but Voltemade hit it centrally every single time. It's like Nick Pope. Was Nick Pope excellent today with his saves? Or should Haaland have just done better with the finishing? That's the way I view it. If you're hitting it centrally, my mind immediately goes to, well, you've made the life for the goalkeeper very easily. That's not to say they still have to make the save, but generally speaking, if you're hitting it centrally, you're not asking a question. Or you are asking a question, and the answer comes far too easily. But Ben Plus, this is the false dichotomy people make. Very few people were suggesting in the summer that we should keep Ederson as the #1 goalkeeper. I think nearly everyone was saying we need a shot-stopping upgrade. So that's a false dichotomy. I'm afraid. So that's my take on the situation. I think it's been massively overrated. I think lots of stuff's getting ignored. It is odd to me, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but I think it's odd. Lots of mistakes are being ignored, I've noticed, or being swept under the rug, or just being excused for someone else. And I don't really get why that's happening. It's interesting. But it might be true, Musty, but it's a meaningless thing to say. Because the choice wasn't Ederson or bust, was it? So it's a meaningless thing to say. Kyle Walker would have conceded those goals as well. That's just as relevant. We all knew we needed a shot-stopping upgrade. I don't accept that as an interesting thing to say. Okay, I wouldn't have saved those goals either. That's an observation. Is it relevant and meaningful? No. Savio wouldn't have saved those goals either. That's an observation. Is it relevant? Does it have meaning? No. I know that's an extreme example, but who cares? If it's irrelevant, it's irrelevant. If it's meaningless, it's meaningless. It's all times zero. Anything times zero is still zero. So it's meaningless regardless of whichever way you want to position it. Again, Musty, meaningless is meaningless. He times by zero, he times them by zero. So it's a non-thing to say. That's fairs, Jack. It's not a fun comparison, Musty, because people aren't using it like that. They're using it as justification. They're not using it as, oh, that's an interesting thing to say. They're using it as a justification or an excuse. i.e., one cannot criticize because this would have happened in that scenario. That is the implication or the direct statement. That is not a correct way to view it, IMO. You get me? But Musty, with respect, Musty, I wasn't talking to you, was I? I was addressing someone else's comment. Respectfully. We're still winning the quads to stop. I need to go, man. What is wrong with me? I need to go. You guys keep keeping me here. Right. I'm going to go now. I'm going to end the stream. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I really hope you've managed to somehow enjoy the post-mortem. Big up to Nebs. Big up to Abanab. Big up to Faris for supporting the channel. Just one more thing. Okay, Matali, what? What's the one more thing? For supporting the channel by joining the channel and supporting it financially. That's massive. 2 ways you can support the channel, guys. Well, 3 ways technically. Leave a like on the video. That's free. If you want to go the extra mile, there are 2 things you can do. You can click that link to join the channel. That's going to give you potentially 2 new videos a month, depending on the tier you pick. It's also going to give you live stream benefits. The other way to support is to sign up for the Patreon. The link for that is in the video description. If you don't care about live perks and you would rather add free viewing, while still getting all the bonus content, click the Patreon link instead. So 2 options for you. Both end up resulting in the Hall of Fame on the end of all of my videos. You can absolutely ultimate. Yes, we do have a Twitch and you can use your Prime sub on Twitch if you have one of those. You've only just hit the like. That's sorry, Metalli, you're getting banned, I'm afraid. You're going to get timed out for 365 years. Before we go, does anyone know why we have leap years? Speaking of 365. Does anyone know why we have leap years? I do, and I'm going to give it as a fun fact. Would you like to know why we have leap years? Does anyone care about this tidbit of science? If you don't, that's reasonable. But some people might care. Would anyone like to know? No clue. So, hopefully you're interested. If you're not, then I apologize. Don't care, you're fine. Yeah, they exactly, Adrian. Yes, it's because Earth rotates not technically 365 days a year. It's because it's 365 and a quarter. So that means that every 4 years, you get an extra day. Because 4 quarters equals 1 whole. So after 4 years, if you didn't have a leap year, then you would eventually get to a situation where, like, July is winter. And it would be very weird. So that's why we have leap years every 4 years. To make up for that extra day that is gained from the Earth rotating 365 days and a quarter. So there we go. Spartacus knew it. Adrian knew it. Scientist over here. Oh my god. Don't know if you thought that's interesting, but hopefully you do. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I've pressed the end button. It is ending. The post-match analysis will be out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Goodbye, guys.